This video shows you many things to attempt if you have a Joy-Con that is not charging. First of all, make sure you're attempting to charge it the correct way. Your Switch has to be either on or in sleep mode, and your Joy-Cons need to be attached to it. They need to be snapped all the way into place. Make sure the Switch is sitting in the dock and the dock's power cord is plugged into the wall. Note that while you're playing in handheld mode, the Switch will charge the Joy-Cons a little bit with its own battery, but it won't fill them up all the way. If none of that worked, it could be that the Joy-Con isn't making good enough contact with the Switch when it's attached. There is a metal contact point under this lip here that needs to meet up with another metal contact point on the Switch, which is nested inside this slot here. Debris can get into those contact points, and it can also get into the railing system, interfering with the Joy-Con's ability to align itself properly at the contact points. So the solution is to clean the rails and the contact points. First, by blowing into them. Using a straw will help concentrate the air and give you a more powerful blast. Then dip a piece of cloth in a little bit of alcohol and run that cloth up and down the rail and into the contact points. Just know that alcohol is flammable, so please don't drench the rag. A Q-tip or toothbrush also works. While everything is wet with the alcohol, go ahead and slide the Joy-Con in and out of place. Let everything dry and test to see if it worked. And leave a like if you appreciate this video. I became aware of this next one through a viewer, and it's very bizarre. They suggest you insert your problematic Joy-Con into the incorrect side of the Switch. So right here, I'm going to pretend that my left Joy-Con is the one that's not charging, and I'm going to take it out and insert it into the right side so that it's facing backward like this. The idea here is that the contact point on the left side of the Switch may not be working, so plugging it into the other side may allow it to charge. Let me know if this worked for you. The next thing to consider is charging the Joy-Cons with something other than the Switch system. Department stores and Amazon sell a lot of different types of charging stations. Here's one of them. It was $14 on Amazon. All you do is plug the cord into a USB port and then slide the Joy-Con into the charger. It turns red when it's charging and it turns green when it's done. If you want to go even cheaper, I found this charging cord on Amazon for $8. One end goes into a USB port and the other end slides into the contact point on the Joy-Con. Why would these devices charge instead of the Switch? It could be that the railings or contact points on the Switch or Joy-Con don't meet up properly because they are bent up or damaged. These external charging devices may make it easier for the contact points to meet up. You kind of get what you pay for this charging cord. It feels very fragile, but I like how it hooks into the Joy-Con by using just the bottom of the rail. You won't know if these charging alternatives work for you until you buy one, so just be ready to return them. Either way, I'll put a link to these two in the description. The next few things to consider involve taking the back cover off the Joy-Con. Note there is always risk involved when taking apart small electronic devices. You could break something. You'll need to get a tri-wing screwdriver, size 00, and then remove these 4 screws. Then put your fingernails into the gap between the two halves and gently snap it open without pulling it apart too fast. Separate it a little bit and then open it up like a book. Notice that these 2 tiny ribbon cables are connecting the 2 halves. So you need to keep the halves close together. With it open like this, you now have many options at your disposal. First of all, you have better access to the metal contact point. Examine that metal and see if it looks damaged. And you can also give it a better cleaning than you had before because you have more of it exposed. You can also replace the battery. Note that just because your Joy-Con refuses to charge doesn't mean the battery is the issue. But I do like to cover as many solutions as I can in these tutorials because I know a lot of people are desperate to solve these issues. The battery is sitting in a little compartment and you can kind of grab part of it and just flip it out. But you also have to separate its cable from the connector here, which is very tricky to do. If you don't do it just right, you could rip the entire connector off the board. If that happens, it's a very hard thing to repair. The connector pops out upward toward the ceiling, so you want to place something very small under it and pull it up. Here I'm using a little poking device to pop it out. When you have the new battery, putting the connector back in is pretty easy. You just push it down back into place. Another thing you can try while you're in here is replace this whole piece here, which contains the contact point and the outside railing. Start with these two screws, which are not tri-wing. They take a size 0000 Phillips. There's another screw here that's holding the mechanism onto the back shell, so remove that. On the back shell is a tiny little button that may come out. If so, just put it right back into place. It has notches on it that allow you to align it just right. There are 3 other buttons you can just pull out. Each one has a little bit of padding under it, so make sure you don't lose that. Now we need to remove this ribbon, which is locked into its connector. There is a little gate that we need to swing upward to remove the lock, and the ribbon pulls right out. So this is the part you can replace. Note there is a way to replace the railings on the switch itself, but that's a much more intense operation with a lot of screws. Plus you have to factor in there are multiple models of the switch. I'm not going to show how to do this procedure because I haven't perfected it yet. However, there are other YouTubers who have, so be sure to check them out if you wish to go forward with that operation. Putting everything back together is pretty self-explanatory, but the ribbon cable part is a little bit tricky. You have to align it just perfectly and insert it in there, and that's very difficult to do because it's very small. When putting the buttons back in, just know that there are little notches that allow you to put them back in properly. It doesn't allow you to put them in the wrong direction. Here's another one that a viewer suggested, and that is to push this little button here. They didn't tell me anything other than that. I do know that that's the sync button, and it also allows you to turn the Joy-Con off by hitting it once. The button is recessed, so you might have to push it with a pencil or something. So experiment with hitting that button and see if it solves your issue. This next one is risky, which is why I'm putting it last. It could be that your Joy-Con is glitched. You can tell your Switch to forget the Joy-Con, and that may remove the glitch and then allow you to pair it up again. The drawback is that for some people, this can make the Switch never able to pair with the Joy-Con again. So proceed at your own risk. Also, this method may not work on the right Joy-Con, and I'll explain why in a minute here. Using the touch screen, go to System Settings, scroll down to Controllers and Sensors, then scroll down to Disconnect Controllers. Then do what it says, which is attach your 2 Joy-Cons to the side of the Switch and hold the X button. The X button is on the right Joy-Con, so if that one is dead, you cannot complete this process. That's the other drawback. If you can complete it, you'll notice that it goes through the pairing process all over again, and that's it. Let me know if any of these solutions worked for you, and also let me know if you have additional solutions to consider. In the meantime, I have other how-to videos for the Switch, so feel free to check some of those out. Thank you for watching.